Dear ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome from my side to this year's Eurovent Summit Innovation Hub. When I was invited by Eurovent to have the honor for the opening speech, I was thinking, what does it mean actually beyond HVAC? Because we use it, but when we don't live it, it turns into a phrase, and a phrase is useless. When it's just a hashtag on Instagram or LinkedIn, it will not push our mutual industry to the other part of the society, because we all know that we are living more or less in an inner circle. HVAC is not very popular outside our industry. What would you do after graduation? I was very keen to history, but I decided with a history diploma, you are running a French fries business in Frankfurt or becoming a cab driver. And at the beginning of the 90s, there was an article in the German newspaper from a German engineer association, it's called VDI, Verein Deutsche Ingenieure, that there will be an engineer gap in the future because less people are going on university for studying engineering stuff. And they listed up all these engineers who will be missed in the future. And the rule of demand and need, I am deeply convinced. And therefore, I went to university to study mechanical engineering with big HVAC. And before that, I did an internship in a very huge consulting office in Frankfurt am Main. Actually, 60 engineers at this time, and they different departments, plumbing, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And I worked in that ventilation and air conditioning department. And the guy who steered this department at this time, he told me, Markus, you have to become a ventilation and air conditioning engineer. And I said, why? And he said, you know, we are the coolest guys in that part of the game. Actually, we are not the part, we are the game. We are the guys with the big air handlers, with the big ducts, some dampers, some silencers. When we are coming to the construction, everyone is shocked, everyone is moving, because they need us. Look to the plumbing department, they are concentrating on 15-millimeter copper pipes for some toilets. When they are still working on their specification, we are writing the bills of our engineering fees. And this was so convincing that on university, during the plumbing lessons, I was reading newspapers, and during ventilation and air conditioning lessons, this was my part. And after graduation, I worked in that same office for over 8 years. And during my first construction meetings, I found out that he was a liar, because I was not sitting in the middle of the table. My place was somewhere at the edge, because I was the guy with the big air handlers and the big ducts and silencers. And I found out that we are a needed evil on a construction. Architects would work without HVAC if they could. I remember a meeting when I was asked by an investor, Mr. Best, how tall is the ventilation duct for my building? The same question like how wet is water? But I did a roughly calculation, I had to do this. And like everyone knows, in that room, 30 cubic meter an hour per person, and you asked for the person, and 3 to 4 meters air velocity per second in a duct. I found out roughly 2 to 2 meters. He was shocked. And after minutes, I dared to tell him that I need a second one for the exhaust air. And then he made up a calculation. 2 multiplied with 2 means 4, plus 4 means 8. Some paneling means 10 square meters, 10 floors, 100 square meters. Marks at this time in Frankfurt, West End part, monthly rent, multiply with 12, with 30 years interest rates, you found out that you cost thousands and hundred thousands of marks just for the ventilation. And then you need some confidence, because the transition between a ventilation duct and a church organ is very flowing. And for me, it's a pity, because HVAC is such an important thing. When you look to Dubai, I'm convinced it will still be a village of fishers somewhere in the Persian Gulf without our industry. When you look to the mainstream of biological and organic food, without our industry, without clean room conditions, they will rot away right on the lorry before arriving in the supermarket. All the cloud solutions, not possible without cooling. All smart devices, not possible without HVAC. Our main problem is that we are not sexy. We are not fancy. We are not a Swiss watch. We are not a French handbag. We are not Italian shoes. We are hidden somewhere in a cellar, somewhere on a roof, somewhere behind. And that's why I'm very thankful that Eurovent and this year's presentation of this summit has an approach which is a must in the year 2016, because we are more than a 100 millimeter inline tube ventilation fan in a toilet in a pub, because that's ventilation for someone who is not working in our business. And that's, in a nutshell, is my personal Beyond HVAC. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I wish you a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.
Markus.